Well, good morning to another great morning in Newport Beach. I'm Alberto Sandoval, Assistant Vice Chancellor of Community and Government Relations at UC Irvine. Thank you. I have one fan in the crowd. Thanks for joining us for Wake Up Newport here. We've got a great speaker, learn about all the issues surrounding transportation here in Orange County. But before that, we're going to hear from the best dressed man in the room, Steve Rosansky.
Thank you, Alberto. Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm Steve Rosansky, President and CEO of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce, and as Alberto said, we have a great speaker in store for you tonight, or this morning. God, it feels like nighttime. It was dark when I woke up, I know. Anyway, before we do that, though, I'm going to bring up our sponsor of our breakfast this morning, Apollonian Accounting, and he's going to tell you a few things about them.
There you go. Good morning. Thank you so much for attending today. If you haven't grabbed some already, coffee and pastries in the back, and then there's some more information about us, about what we do and don't do. My name is Alan Baer. I am the VP of Business Development and Sales. I've been doing this a little over 15 years. I'm new to the organization, but grateful to be here with the Newport Chamber. I am the president of the Mission Viejo Chamber of Commerce too. So we have a wide verse of clients internationally. We focus on helping businesses that are willing and wanting to grow. We have a heavy nonprofit division in accounting and in tax, and pretty much can handle anything privately owned worldwide. We have attorneys on staff. There's about 20 of us. We're actively growing and looking for a new space. The office is in Laguna Hills, but we'll look to be moving soon. But a great referral is a business owner that's willing and wanting to sell or scale his business. We're more than happy to help. You can contact me, and thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Enjoy yourself, and I turn that back over to Steve.
Thank you. Apollonia is actually one of our Platinum Leadership Circle members, so we're appreciative of that and appreciative of the breakfast that was provided by Mulan this morning. So thank you again, Alan. We also have some dignitaries with us this morning, so I'll just quickly run through that. City Councilwoman Robin Grant is here. Former Mayor Keith Curry joined us this morning. Our Public Works Director, Dave Webb, is with us this morning. Who else do we have? Pierce Swan with the Irvine Ranch Water District. Civil Service Board member Howard Herzog. How many more years do you have to run on Civil Service Board, Howard? Too many more? I think you've been there a long time. He's a fixture over there. And then who else do we have? Paul Watkins back there with the Board of Library Trustees. I think he's still the chair. Are we going to see that lecture hall? Is it going back to bid? One of these days, we're going to have a lecture. We're all going to move from here to this beautiful lecture hall that we're going to. It's going to bid. It's out to bid. We heard it from the Public Works Director. Hopefully, we value engineered some stuff. Maybe we tweaked and. Okay. $2 million off. Okay. Well, you know what? I think City Council should step up and pay for it, no matter what. John Langford with the Planning Commission, new Planning Commissioner, also one of our new Chamber Commodores, and head of our. What did we put you the head of? One of our committees. I said, you're it, didn't I?
I don't think you did.
Oh, well, then you're going to get one. Don't worry. And I think, Dorothy Larson. She's also here with the Library Board, or Library Foundation, sorry. Trustees. Board of Trustees? Yes. Okay, Library Board of Trustees. The library's got a lot of groups. The only organization that has more groups is the Chamber of Commerce than the library does. But I think that covers it, so I'll be back for a few comments later on. And Alberto's going to introduce our guests, so take it away, Alberto. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it. Were you here last month?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did we talk about your new position at the university? He got a big promotion. Of course, I wrote him the recommendation letters. That's why he got it.
It's true.
But he's moved up the food chain. However, Alberto is staying with us, right? Not going to some other chamber called Irvine or something, right? He's staying here because he knows where we make it happen here. So congratulations, Alberto. Also, I wanted to shout out to Nancy Scarborough, running for City Council here in 2024. All right?
All right. Thanks, Steve. So great speaker in Darrell Johnson, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the Orange County Transportation Authority, leading an agency of 1,500 employees responsible for delivering projects, programs, and services that improve mobility for more than 3 million residents in Orange County. Since becoming CEO in early 2013, Johnson has focused on the early delivery of projects through Measure M. Thank you very much. Orange County's voters approved half-cent sales tax for transportation improvements. Expanding the Measure M plan will result in more than $5 billion of freeway projects completed or underway years ahead of schedule, with an additional $1.4 billion ready to begin construction. Under Johnson's leadership, OCTA was named the managing agency of the Los Angeles, San Diego, San Luis Obispo Amtrak service, the 351-mile Losan corridor running through a 6-county coastal region in Southern California. As Johnson leads the effort to enhance all modes of transportation for the residents, businesses, and tourists of Orange County, he has done so with an emphasis on keeping OCTA a financially sound agency that safeguards taxpayer dollars. Thank you again. Johnson implemented a pension reform plan that will save Orange County taxpayers $85 million during the next 20 years. Johnson represents OCTA on local, state, and national issues related to transportation programs and policies, and in 2012, he was elected to serve on the board of directors of the American Public Transportation Association. Prior to joining OCTA, Johnson worked at Amtrak for 12 years, where he held positions in operations, planning, and finance, and contributed to the development of passenger rail corridors in California, Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia. Johnson is a graduate of UC Riverside, CSU Hayward, and lives in Rancho Santa Margarita with his wife and 2 daughters. Welcome, Darrell.
So I'll apologize in advance. Somehow we gave you the long intro versus the short bio, so appreciate that. This is a great place to be. I've been here a few times, and where did Steve go? Thanks again for the invitation, Steve. And I love that it's Wake Up Newport. If it was Good Night Newport, I don't think I can make it past about 8 p.m. So I'm more of a morning person for sure. So, before I start talking about OCTA, I think talking with you a little bit, Steve, the fact that the chamber here has over 700 members, I think is incredible. We get the opportunity countywide to engage with a number of chambers, small, large, east, west, north, south, and having an engaged chamber, I think, is really critical. And I think it makes the business community stronger, and it's a good opportunity for us to talk and tell our story a little bit. So with that, kind of jump in. And I know most of you probably are thinking, why is he telling me what OCTA is? But I want to spend a moment and, as residents of Orange County, just reflect a little bit on the Orange County Transportation Authority. We have 58 counties in California. All of them have some type of transportation entity, but there's only 3 that are structured in a way that OCTA is. There's us, Los Angeles County, and Santa Clara County. And by that I mean that in 1991 we took 7 legal entities and consolidated those into one legal entity known as OCTA. Since that time, one of those government entities is sunsetted, so there's 6 legal entities functioning as one. And why is that important? And that's important because if you go to San Diego County, for example, there's 3 transportation agencies. There's 3 boards of directors, there's 3 general managers or CEOs, there's 3 CFO, you get the picture, right? And this is about efficiency. We've saved Orange County taxpayers millions of dollars over the last 30 years on this. And the decision making also gets consolidated in a thoughtful manner where you can focus on a multitude of decision making that relates to each other. So when you think about OCTA, we sort of think about it in sort of 4 areas. Everything around the streets and road system, complete streets, it's active transportation, it's signal synchronization, it's streets and roads funding, goes back to City of Newport, for example, which I'll talk about in a moment, for pothole repair and paving. And then transit, anything around transit, the bus system, the paratransit system, microtransit we're experimenting with, on-demand microtransit, community-based transit, which I'll talk about in a moment. And in my bio was the Losan piece, which, why is that important to Orange County? The rail corridor from San Diego to San Luis Obispo is the 2nd busiest rail corridor in the nation, carries 8.5 million people a year. And the other 8 counties on that corridor selected OCTA to manage that function. No cost to the taxpayers of Orange County, fully funded by the state of California, which had funded it previously, But instead of having someone in Sacramento manage it, we manage it locally under a contract. We should be very proud of that. And then sustainability, whether it's zero emission buses, air quality initiatives, water quality programs, open space preservation, to offset the impacts of the transportation programs. And then finally, I think what many people think about, which I think is a bit of a misnomer here in 2023, that we're all about the highway program, but everything about the Measure M program, the carpool lanes, as well as the tolled express lanes, the roving tow trucks, the motorist services, those types of things. Then I want to spend just a quick minute on how we're thinking about the transportation system. If you were at a presentation like this in 1995, OCTA would have told you that we're going to focus on building the freeway system out first, then we're going to work on the streets and roads system second, and then we're going to think about the transit system third, and then we might think about sustainability at a later date. What we've been doing over the last 10 to 12 years is really focus on doing all of those at the same time, making sure we have a balanced approach, because not one size fits all, not in our state, not in our county, not even at the city level, frankly, depending upon your city in terms of the sustainability, the transit needs, the highway needs, and the complete streets. And being able to deliver all of those programs in a balanced piece has been really important to me, really important to the board of directors. And I think it gets to the idea that our county is growing. Maybe our growth rate has slowed a bit, but it's growing more diverse. Our population is aging, and we need to make sure that we're also managing all those things and delivering all those types of projects and programs in a balanced way. And on that for a moment, just pause. With 3.2 million people in Orange County, that makes our population as a county larger than 22 other states. You have to soak that up for a minute, right? We're basically 10% of California's population, but we're larger than 22 other states. So our transportation budget at OCTA, and I'm not counting the 34 cities, the county, or the transportation corridor agencies, is larger than 17 other states. So we have a lot of people in a tight area, and we invest a lot of money into the system. And I think the word investment is important, because it's different than spending. Spending is just money going out the door. Investment is you're putting things into infrastructure and programs and projects that make sense over time. So speaking of investment, I'm going to talk a little bit about Measure M. It's our half-cent sales tax in Orange County. It's on its second round. The first round was approved by the voters in 1991 and went for 20 years through 2011. And you can see here it was $4 billion of investment. And at that time, when it was complete, we identified that had leveraged an additional $1.2 billion in external funds that we would not have received if we had not had that local sales tax. We asked the voters in 2006 to renew that, which they did with about 70% positive vote or a yes vote. This time it's for 30 years, began collections in 2011, and it's approximately a $15 billion program. And to date, not in the future, but to date, we've leveraged or attracted an additional $3.5 billion in external funds to match against that program. Just a quick example, the 55 freeway that's under construction, anybody seen that? That was originally anticipated to be a 100% Measure M funded project at about $400 million. Caltrans added some additional features, I'll call to it, so it's now $500 million. We brought in $400 million of non-Measure M funds. So what was originally going to be $400 million of Measure M is now about $100 million of Measure M and $400 million of state funds. So that's the type of matching and leveraging that we can do if we put our money up front. One question I get a lot is, how is sales tax doing after COVID? So prior to the pandemic, we were anticipating half-cent sales tax countywide would generate about $320 million annually for the transportation program for OCTA. And that would have been a new high for us, $320-ish million. When the pandemic hit, everybody took an inward look. What is sales tax doing? What is business operations doing? And we adjusted that downward to about $290 million. Well, we finished last year at $425 million. There's clearly a sales tax party. Now, I think it's ending, but we have seen double-digit growth, in fact, 30% growth over the last 36 months in the sales tax program. But we're also smart enough to know that we can't count on double-digit growth for the next 20 years. That won't happen. But we were able to take those dollars and invest. In a city like Newport Beach, you get dollars back on a formula basis. So when sales tax rises, you get more money into your streets and roads program, right, Dave? Public Works loves it. But at the same time, knowing that we put money away for a rainy day, and at the same time, looking forward, that big boost in the last 2 years allows us to advance a series of projects and do it on a cash basis versus any consideration of bond debt against that. So very, very important in that sense. And then just the circle on the right there is how we allocate the dollars. That's by ordinance. So 43% to the freeway program, 32% to streets and roads, and 25% to transit. So with all of that said, what does that mean for the city of Newport Beach? So a couple of the programs that Newport is participating in is, one is what we call Project V. It's identified in the ordinance as community transit, and it funds community shuttles, trolleys. As you can see, this is the Balboa Peninsula trolley. We're very happy that we're behind the scenes on this. I think we have a little sticker on the back, right, Dave? This is funded by OCTA or something like that. But it's so interesting to watch people around the coastal areas in particular, where we have the summer shuttles, San Clemente, Dana Point, here in Newport, stand on the corner and let the big bus go by, but they all clamor to get on this. I can't get into the psyche of it. I'm not exactly sure. I have some thoughts on that. But it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what the label is. What matters is we're giving people an opportunity. We're relieving congestion, parking issues. We've had great success here in Newport. And again, I'll mention Dana Point and San Clemente because there are other success stories where you have an influx of summer visitors, weekend visitors, and this is an opportunity to offload people off your streets and roads into a different manner, and I think it's been very successful. And it's a great partnership with the city. We provide most of the funding. The city provides a match and then operates the service, and then they can set the fares, they can set the policies, hours of operation. We provide technical assistance, but we think this is a great program, and it's really worked well here in Newport Beach. And then on the other side is what we call Project Q. This is your local fair share funding for your city. And what that means is we have a formula that looks at what's your population, what's your sales tax generation, and what are your sort of major arterial lane miles or road miles, with the idea if you have more people, generate more sales tax, and have more roads, you get more money. So since the inception of Measure M2 in 2011, just on a formula turnback basis, the city of Newport Beach has received $22.7 million. And as sales tax rises, the city gets a larger share of that. And then countywide, just to put that in perspective, we've made available $660 million over the course of the measure countywide. The other thing I should point out is this is meant to augment what's already being invested by your city from traditional gas tax, the enhanced gas tax from 2017. So this doesn't replace that. So this is stacking on top of that. So this really gives a lot of effort or a lot of resources for your city to maintain the streets and roads. And I think, did everyone drive here today? Any potholes?
Not Newport Beach.
Exactly, right? So if you find some potholes, Dave is right here. You can tell him where the potholes are at. We know that visually, right? We drive, we see it, we feel it, we understand it, but we also have to actually analyze it. So we look at, every city has to give us data. We take that data, it's called a pavement condition index, and then we submit that to the state controller's office to show that we're using our gas tax and other things properly. And now for 10 years running, Orange County has had the best pavement condition index of any county in California. We can clap on that, I think. And I like to say that it didn't happen by accident. It was purposeful, it was thoughtful, and it was meant to be. And it also didn't happen overnight. And one of the things that we try to talk about is making sure that we're asking all of our cities to continue to invest in pavement rehab, because it's like if you have a house and if you don't replace the roof, or you don't repair the roof when it rains, or you don't paint the eaves, or you don't trim the bushes, over time, those things get more and more expensive. So the idea of taking care of it in advance. And we like to talk about this a lot, but 2 weeks ago in San Diego, the California Transportation Commission met. It was a statewide commission with people appointed by the governor and the Senate and the Assembly. They reported on all 58 counties. So I got to stand there and see our green Orange County, right? We're one of only 3 or 4 that are in the green category, meaning it's all good. Now we have some challenges around the county. We're working with certain cities, older cities that need more investment in terms of thoughtful processes of that. But overall, this is an investment. Back to that idea of investment versus spending, I think is really critical. A little bit shifting to the environmental programs. We have really two large programs that are tied to the transportation aspects of Measure M2. I'll start with the one on the right. It's our freeway environmental mitigation program. It was the first program in the state to look at a master program of open space mitigation or mitigation for freeway projects. So in the normal process, prior to this, you would work on a freeway project, an off-ramp, an on-ramp, and you might take some land, harm some land, native scrub, bushes, floral fauna, et cetera, and you would have to replace that. You take a half an acre, you replace a half an acre someplace. We thought that was a bit silly, and it wasn't really providing environmental benefit. So what we did under Measure M2 was we set aside 5% of the net revenues for an open space mitigation program. And we went through a biological valuation process. This was no eminent domain, it was willing sellers, and it was very focused on biological benefit. And we've now preserved over 1,300 acres of open space and restored nearly 350 acres of habitat throughout Orange County. This is permanent. This is not something that will be developed ever again. And we've set up an endowment to pay for the operations and management and preservation of those it's a non-wasting endowment, so the idea is it will take in perpetuity, will maintain itself. And what we got in exchange for that was streamlined permitting for the projects that we are doing. So we can do projects better, faster, and cheaper, and at the same time providing value to the environment. We're very happy about that. We also have an environmental cleanup program, and this is a simple picture of things that help a lot. Things like trash screens and low flow watering heads. And the idea here is if you have transportation related runoff, one of the simple things is our brakes on our vehicles generate brake dust. That lands on the roadway. When it rains, that goes into the water system. Trash, other things there. So we believe that we have captured about 60 million gallons of trash as a result of this program over the course of the last 10 years. And just recently, Newport, I think you received about $55,000, $56,000, Dave, in the water quality program, something in that nature. These are small projects with big benefit, and we continue to make those available every year. And the idea is being good stewards of not only public dollars, but when you have impacts from your transportation programs, how can you help mitigate those? A little bit about transit. We have one of the top 10 largest bus systems in the state, and one of the things that we worked on, we started right before the pandemic. On the right-hand side here is we have 9 community colleges in Orange County, and we had long tried to come into a partnership with the community colleges in some manner where we could have some type of reciprocal benefit to the community college students. The idea that community college is a starting point for many, many people, and we didn't want transportation to be a barrier to education. And there was opportunities under existing state legislation to enter into partnerships. Frankly, it was a little hard to get them interested because we said, we're going to make this program available for free to you, and you only have to sort of agree to implement this on your student ID card. And everybody's like, that doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? But we finally got Santa Ana College to start, and last summer, so about 1 year ago, we got the 9th college. So every community college now is participating in our program. It's really no cost to OCTA the way the structure of the program is set up. If you're a community college student at any of the 9 community colleges in all of Orange County and you have a student ID, you can swipe that on the bus system and you can ride anywhere in the county. We've now recorded over 5 million boardings on that since its inception, and that includes the weirdness of 2020, 21, and 22 as it related to the pandemic. So then that got us thinking about, well, if we're having such success with the community college program, what if we could push that into sort of the high school space? What can we do there? We knew we had a number of cities and high schools in different parts of the county that relied upon the bus system, some more than others, depending upon where they're located and how they're on the street network. But we went and we decided to see if we could push an 18 and under free program pilot. We did that at the end of 2021, and we worked with all the school districts in the county to push that out. And the pilot was very successful. In the first 6 months or so, we recorded more than $1 million $1 million boardings. And so then we decided that we would want to try to make this permanent. But it costs money, right? We're taking fair revenue away. So public agencies, and I'm sure many of you understand, sometimes you get money from the state or the federal government that you're like, yeah, I'm not sure if that's the best use of that money, but it's got some strange rules around it, so we have it. So we had the idea that we had some funding that didn't make a lot of sense to us. So we approached a member of the Orange County delegation, Senator Josh Newman, and asked if he would consider carrying a bill for us that would take existing dollars and just make them more flexible. And what we wanted to do was be able to subsidize the youth transit pass. He agreed with that. It was unanimous through the Senate and the Assembly Transportation Committees, and we made that permanent about a year ago. We've now recorded more than 1.5 million boardings on that, and no cost, no net cost to the agency. We became the first large transit agency in California to do that. In the transportation world, we have friendly competition. One of my friendly competitions was San Diego. So I like to say we were first. They copied us now, so they've done this about a year ago. And when I'm not in the room, I think they describe themselves as being innovative and thoughtful on it. And if I'm in the room, they say we copied Orange County. So, so we'll take that. But it's a great benefit, and we're getting a lot of ridership on that. All right, so I promised Piers I would talk about the 405 improvement project. So, are you ready? Okay. So we have a large project. Anybody driven the 405 in the last few years? So I got good news and bad news. The good news is it's almost done. The bad news is that there's still going to be like landscaping, construction, and that type of stuff for the next 6 months or so. But this is a project. It's 16 miles between essentially the 405, 55 interchange, and then all the way up to the 605, 405, 22 interchange, basically the LA County line. It's about 16 miles. It is the single largest project that OCTA has ever undertaken, and the biggest transportation project in the state of California right now is the California High-Speed Rail project in the Central Valley. I'm sure everyone has opinions on that. We're not going to talk about that today. But the second biggest one is the 405 improvement project here in Orange County. It's $2.2 billion. And 95% of the funding is coming directly from OCTA. So only 5% is coming from traditional state and federal sources. My point on that, this is internally self-funded through Measure M and then through future toll revenues. And this project, the first time we did a study on it was 2004. And we did the environmental analysis and process in 2012, and the planning in the 2015 and 16 timeframe. And a contract was awarded in 2016, and construction began in 2018. So over the last 10 years, we've been working on this. And Lance over here on my team knows what I'm about to say is, I like to count days. So we've been working on this now for 3,914 days. But our dedication event is December 1st. That's 85 days away. So we're getting close. In fact, we'd love all of you to come out. We'll be doing an invitation, very broad distribution here in the coming weeks, but we're going to have an event on December 1st. It'll be at 10 in the morning at the IKEA parking lot off the 405. And it's really to dedicate the project. We think the lanes will be open around that time. We're very focused on not making big changes to travel patterns around the Thanksgiving holiday. So if we can't open November 1st and November 10th, we will wait till after the Thanksgiving holiday, because whether you have tolling, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment, or not, changes in traffic patterns, striping, lane configuration, we know from our history that people get confused, they don't adjust well, and we also know that the busiest travel days of the year, Orange County included, is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and the Sunday after, so we don't want to do anything to sort of mess up those travel patterns there. So I think we'll be targeting the early part of December. So the project does add one regular general purpose or free lane in each direction. It also converts the center of the facility, the HOV lane that was there, adds a second lane and converts that to 2 tolled express lanes in the middle of the freeway with multiple access points. I'll talk about that in just a moment. We replaced 18 full bridges in the corridor. All of them were widened to accommodate what we call the master plan of arterial highways. So whether it's Ward or Fairview or whatever the case may be, they now match the local streets on each side, so you don't create a bottleneck over the freeway. We've added sidewalks to every single bridge, and we've added bike lanes to every single bridge. Those didn't exist before. We've also reconstructed 58 on and off ramps, and we've rebuilt or built over 300 different retaining walls and sound walls. It's quite a massive undertaking, but it's now 95% complete. And again, scheduled to open to traffic by the end of the year, probably early December. So I'm going to spend a little bit on how the tolls work. Has anybody driven the 91 express lanes? Okay. For all practical purposes, it's going to work exactly the same. The reason I don't ask if you have driven the 110 express lanes or the I-10 express lanes, those are a little bit different. But this is modeled after the 91 express lanes with some modifications here. And I'll talk about the dollars in just a moment. And I'll also talk about how you can get a transponder, how you can sign up for an account. All of those types of things are launching now. So across the board here, so solo drivers, if you want to use the express lanes, you're always going to pay a toll. And I'll talk about those prices in just a moment. If you're a two-person carpool, it will be free for the first 3.5 years during non-peak hours. So basically, if we open on December 1st, 3.5 years from December 1st, two-person carpools will be free during the non-peak hours. And those non-peak hours are listed at the bottom. So the peak hours are going to be 6 to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday, and 2 to 7 p.m., so basically rush hour. And then weekends are 1 to 7. We actually have an interesting travel pattern on the 405 between here and the LA County line. There's oftentimes more travel on the weekends than there is on the weekday. And I'll talk about the flow of traffic in just a moment. If you're a three-person carpool, it's always free. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's always free. So you get 3 people in your car, and you have a transponder, and you press the switch, it's always going to be free. Regardless of time of day, regardless of price of toll, it's always going to be free. If you have a designated veteran's license plate that you can get from DMV, it's always free. If you have a designated disabled plate that you get from DMV, it's also always free. And then a motorcycle is always free as well. And then clean air vehicles, there's a list of what qualifies as a clean air vehicle, but I think we can think about things like, obviously, a Tesla, a complete zero-emission vehicle of any type is a 15% discount in there. So then another question is the access points. So multiple access points, a little bit different than the 91, where you have an access point. I'll just go east as an example. You can access at the 55, and then you stay in it for 10 miles minimum. And you have a choice of getting out at the county line or staying in, and then your next choice of getting out is at basically the I-15. This is a much longer corridor with a lot more ons and off ramps and more activity. So when we were doing the planning and community outreach, there was a lot of interest at the community level to make sure there was significant ins and outs. So this is a bit of a simplified version. There are 39 options of ins and outs in each direction. So it can get pretty complicated in terms of pricing. The idea though is flexibility when you want to get in and out. So if you were to start on the 73, you can get in at the 73, as you see the little yellow arrow at the bottom. The next point you could get out would be the Magnolia Warner area. You could stay in, and you can get out at Bolsa Golden West, or you can stay in, and you can get to the 22, and then you can choose, do you want to go on the 405 or 605? At each of those yellow points, you have a choice of in or out. Does that make sense? So you can go the whole distance, or you can go the shortest distance. You can also enter from the 22 if you're coming from, say, Garden Grove or Orange westbound on the 22. You can also enter from the 405 going northbound as well. And the same thing works in reverse. So what that means is there's a lot of options on the pricing and tolling. The board just adopted our opening day toll schedules. The full length peak hour is going to be $9.95. And that's about 25 cents per mile in that space. And the average toll rate, if you look at all of the choice, is about $3. The minimum toll rate is about $2.70. And the algorithm that sets the toll rates is focused on keeping speeds at 65 miles an hour. So the concept is when you pay the price, regardless of whether you're at middle of the night or at rush hour, the goal is to go to 65 miles an hour. And that's very important in terms of how we think about this. There are some places around the country that will tell you we like to maximize our speeds at 42.5 miles an hour. The reason is the traffic engineers think that that's the perfect amount of, the perfect speed to get the most number of cars in a lane per hour. And they're absolutely right. But would any of you pay to go 42.5 miles an hour on the freeway? You should pay to go 65, right? So the idea is we want to sell a free flow trip. The goal here is to go those 16 miles in 16 minutes. Or if you choose a 5-mile segment, go 5 miles in 5 minutes. That's the policy that we've been had in place on the 91 express lanes for 20 years this past January. Tolls go up and down based upon traffic volumes every 3 months. We just lowered some tolls because traffic volumes are down. But the concept is when you decide to pay, that you get a free flow trip and you can choose to do that at any time. So that's the goal. We do expect some opening day challenges or jitters. And by that I mean that people will not fully understand how to use it. They won't fully understand how to get in and out. We will expect that we'll have on the low end, maybe 30 days, on the high end, as much as 180 days of what we call a ramp-up period, where people are adjusting to different traffic patterns, understanding the toll facility, and we will be making different pricing changes manually during that time frame to try to make sure that when you do choose to pay, that you're not stuck in any traffic there. But we're confident that we have the ability to manage that going forward. So that talks to, well, how do we communicate? Oops, too many buttons here. Okay, here we go. So we have just launched in the early summer the 405 Express Lanes website, and I don't know why this is getting too fancy on me here. It's animated and I can't stop it, I'm sorry. We've launched a website about how you can get your transponder, how to use it. There's videos about that. We're opening a customer service center right off the 405 in sort of in the Fountain Valley area, very close. You can go in person, you can sign up online. If you have a transponder at any other toll agency in California, doesn't matter which one it is. It could be the 91 Express Lanes, it could be LA Metro, it could be the Transportation Corridor agencies, it could be the Golden Gate Bridge in Northern California. You can drive on the facility. And California has something known as Title 21. It requires toll agencies to be interoperable. So if you take your Golden Gate Bridge toll transponder and drive on the 405 or the 91, we have to share that information back and forth so you don't get violations, you just get charged the proper rate there. Now I would say if you want to take advantage of the carpool discounts, you need to have a switchable transponder, has a little switch on it. You can select 2-person or 3-person. If you don't select that, then you'll get charged the full rate. And if you do have a clean air vehicle, you have to sign up on the 405 Express Lanes account and put in your vehicle information, and that is validated against a California clean air discount there. So a little bit of nuance there. That's, again, the way the 91 Express Lanes work. But we're launching this entire communication going forward in terms of how we do it. We do expect that since we began the planning for this project more than a decade ago, the number of transponders in circulation in Southern California, which is an indicator of how many people use toll facilities, has more than doubled. So the amount of people that are familiar with toll facilities has doubled in the last 10 years, and we suspect that will continue to go forward as well. So this is the animation. I can't seem to stop, but this is a preview of the website there for you. It's out there, it's available, and happy to answer questions about that. The toll schedule is also going to be on the website coming up shortly. Again, the average toll is about $3. Low toll is $2.70. High toll is $9.95 in peak hour. Also want to, just before I wrap up, a little bit about the traffic on the 405. We've shifted in the last 5 or 6 years in our traffic patterns. We now have more people that come from Los Angeles County into Orange County every day for work than the opposite. So more than about 10 years ago, if you looked at all the data, peak rush hour was 405 northbound into Los Angeles County. And PM rush hour was coming, quote, back home where we live, right? That has shifted substantially in the last 5 years. So what I like to say is now LA County is Orange County's biggest suburb, right? So the fact is we have jobs that are being created in Orange County. So the toll rates are going to reflect that. So you're going to see southbound AM peak toll rates and northbound PM peak toll rates. Because remember, all the toll rates are based upon traffic and traffic management. So it is a bit of a change, and that's a significant change in the last 5 to 6 years in terms of traffic patterns on the 405, as well as more weekend activity. So with that, we just sort of key takeaways in terms of how I'm thinking about OCTA and how we're thinking about it now is we're on track to deliver all of the Measure M promises. We hunkered down during the pandemic to make sure we weren't overspending and not spending money we didn't have, and that has helped us and served us well. We have plenty of funds and reserves. We can finish all of our programs as promised to the voters. And at the same time, by board policy, we're continuing to invest in all modes of travel: streets, roads, freeways, transit, buses, paratransit, active transportation, on a balanced basis going forward. So again, recognizing that one size does not fit all, and even within the county, we're making sure that different parts of the county get what they need for their mobility needs as well. So with that, Steve, I'm going to wrap up. I'm happy to take questions. I probably went a little bit long, but happy to take questions. I saw right here in the pink in the front.
Yes, more about the 73. So I've had a transponder, had a transponder, but we just have a little sticker on the car now.
Right.
So for this new section, we have to get a transponder if we want to take advantage of culture.
Right, so the sticker transponder, we offer sticker transponders as well. Currently, there's not a switchable sticker. I know it sounds funny, but there is a switchable sticker in development where you can basically press a little bubble button on that. But in the short term, you can get that for free from the TCAs, or you can get it free from OCTA, and you can have that in well and use the switchable on there, so you can take advantage of that. I saw right behind you in the black, and then I'll go over here by the camera.
So two quick questions. 15% off, did you say, for EVs?
Yes.
And there's no more carpool lanes. This replaces the carpool lanes, right?
That's correct. There's no more carpool lanes, but there's still carpool discounts. So in one sense, if you're using the carpool lanes today, they're a two-person carpool, you can still use those in the off-peak hours exactly the way you're using them today. But if you have a three-person carpool, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for free. So technically no more carpool lanes. Some parts of the country call these high occupancy toll lanes, this idea that they're toll lanes plus high occupancy lanes. That really hasn't sort of caught on in California's vernacular, so we call them express lanes, but the idea is there are occupancy discounts as well as the opportunity for pricing for tolling. Yes, sir.
Yeah, kind of going off of the first one. So they're mimicking the 91, there's not going to be any additional lane that jets out for a three-person, where if you had a sticker, you can just go through. We're just going to have 2 lanes.
Excellent point. So in the 91, when that was built, we had a lot more property and space. And so we have what's called a verification lane. So if you're on the 91, it says three-person carpools here, and that goes through, and that's a visual verification. Here, that would have required more taking of private properties on the outside of the freeway. And the industry is moving to the switchable transponders. And I think if I was standing here, or someone like me was standing here a decade from now, we will have approved federal highway occupancy detection. It'll determine if you have 3 people in your car versus 2 people and a dog. I think that's where the future is going in terms of occupancy detection there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Steve?
So you'll, for the first 3.5 years where the two-person carpools, you'll still need that switchable transponder, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how soon will they become available?
They're available now. We can start signing up for accounts on 405expresslanes.net. But again, if you have an existing transponder of any facility.
Well, like Dorothy said, I have the sticker, but occasionally I might want to use the carpool lane. So.
I believe you can, 99% sure you could, on your existing account with the transportation corridor agencies, you could get a switchable transponder if you ask at no cost there.
The answer is yes.
Yes. Great, thank you. Hey, Keith.
So I have a switchable transponder and I have a sticker. So if I hold up the switchable transponder and I have a sticker, how will it not charge me twice?
It's supposed to read the switchable. That's what it's supposed to do. That's supposed to prioritize that. So.
You can test it.
And and that's I think we'll take that as a follow-up question, but I think that's how it's working in Los Angeles now, because people do have the stickers from the TCA and they're going north and they want to take advantage of that as well. So, Piers.
Hey, Darrell, we've come a long way from where we used to be at the bottom of the STIP, the state transportation, getting funding. OCTA and whoever's done it has done a great job moving us up and getting funded. There are a couple of things that impact us. When that flyway from the 55 to the 73 is down to 1 lane, I know there was a contractor problem. When is that going to be fixed? That's a real bottleneck and dangerous.
I agree with you, and we're in conversation with Caltrans. We're not involved in that project. It's a state DOT maintenance project, and I think you know, and I talked to a couple of other folks, the contractor and the State Department of Transportation got into I would say a major dispute, and the contractor walked off the job. My understanding, it was safety related. They were not working in a safe manner. They're in the process of a replacement contractor. One of the requests that we have made to Caltrans and we'll make again is there needs to be some cleanup and some focus on that and some communication to the public of what's going on. So I don't know the status, but we can inquire again for that.
The second thing is, how is Orange County interfacing with LA County? I mean, you've done, on the 91, you've done a good job with Riverside and San Bernardino, but how are you interfacing in LA on the freeway projects that you've done? Because they're addressing transportation differently than Orange County.
They are. I would say the conversation we've had with LA in the last 5 or 6 years has gotten better. You know, a number of years ago when OCTA improved the I-5 through Buena Park, we worked hard to try to get to a timing frame where we took the widening or the improvement to the county line. They were supposed to start a year later to move it all the way to the 605, and they were delayed 5 or 6 years, and that was very problematic, and it didn't look good for anyone. It just moved the bottleneck 3 miles. That didn't work. The thing in the transportation planning and operations planning is you want to have either lane increases or lane drops at local interchanges, like where the 605 and the 405 come together, where the 22 and the 405 come together. So our planning with LA has been, I would say, good in the sense that we were very clear that we wanted to take the express lanes planning all the way to the 405 and 605. I think one of the concerns that we have going forward is we know we have a whole host of people going north on the 405. They're going to take the express lanes, and then they have a choice. They can go the 405 or 605. We know what that split is today in terms of when people don't have to pay, what that choice is. But one of the things that we're going to be watching very closely and worried about is how can we price the 605 and the 405 to balance the traffic. We have some thoughts on that. We've watched that unfold in Riverside County on eastbound on the 91 when people can go 3 directions. They can go 15 south, 15 north, 91 east, and how do you balance those out? But we've had good conversations with LA Metro, and currently it's in the very, very early stages of an I-5 express lanes that Caltrans is looking at between the 55 and the LA County line, and the same conversation is occurring there in terms of how do you make that transition all the way to the 605. So I think it's better than it's been, but at the same time, it's they are addressing transportation a little bit differently in LA County. And just a quick fact, I don't like the statistic I'm going to give because I think every project is different, but some people like to take a project and divide it by the number of miles and determine cost per mile. If you did that on the 405, our cost per mile is about $125 million. If you did it on the 55, it's about $110 million per mile. The work that LA Metro did between the county line and the 605 was $350 million a mile because there's just no more property, right? We had opportunities to add a lane and adjust without buying full private properties. The right-of-way cost plus the emotional and physical and personal impact is great. But that gives you a sense of the challenges in an area that's even more urbanized than we are in terms of the cost, plus the impact. Hey, Dave?
Real quick comment I wanted to address the folks too. Just what a great partner OCTA is with the city. Next Friday, we're going to do our trash interceptor on San Diego Creek. You know, we're going to inaugurate that, and OCTA was a huge friend of that. Darrell mentioned that.
Thanks, Dave.
But that's going to have a groundbreaking, basically. We're starting that project to really help Newport Beach in the day. But that's one of the partnerships we have with OCTA, and we're thankful for that. So.
Thanks, Dave. Looks like I'm getting the hook. So I just want to say thanks one more time to Wake Up Newport. I really appreciate the invitation, and thank you all for being here. So.
Well, thank you, Darrell. Great information. For those of us who live in Rossmore or Seal Beach and work down here, we're going to be looking for a Groupon, maybe.
3-person carpool.
All right, to close us out, Steve.
What Darrell didn't tell you in his presentation was we first met, I used to serve sandwiches or cater events at OCTA when we had our Togo's Baskin Robbins restaurant right across the street. So we actually go back 20 years maybe, long time. Anyway, great presentation. Hopefully, it's going to prove your trips. I know I use that 405 corridor all the time, so I look forward to the dedication. And please make sure you send an invitation over to the chamber for that thing at the IKEA. So just to quickly wrap up, we've got a whole bunch of other things coming up if you didn't get enough of us this morning. Next month, I forget the date, October 4th, I think, or 5th, is Nicole Suydam. She's the president or direct CEO of Goodwill Orange County, so she's going to be here. I think someone's here from Goodwill this morning. No? Oh, yeah, there he is. Eric, thanks for coming. So that should be a great program. Our young professional group, Navigate, is going to be up at Pelican Hill Resort for a golf, putting, and pitching, I hear, tournament. And the winning team, 4-person team, will each get a round of golf at Pelican Hill. So, for the young professionals out there who like to play golf, this is definitely one you want to attend. Our networking luncheon is going to be at Capitol Grill on September 20th. Our next government affairs meeting, we don't have the speaker yet, but we will be having it on September 21st. Our Sunset Mixer is going to be a big one this month. It's going to be at Rooftop at Lido House. It's probably the biggest one of the year that we do. So definitely join us for that. And our big event this month is our Fire and Lifeguard Appreciation Dinner, 25th Annual at the Hyatt Jamboree. I'd love to invite you guys to come, but we closed down registration 2 weeks ago. We're completely sold out and actually sold too many tickets. So we're like the airlines. We're going to have to bump some people, I think. But hopefully not have to pay bumping fees. And then last but not least, our 61st Annual Corona Del Mar Sandcastle Building Contest is going to happen on October 1st. And hopefully you can get a team together and come down and enjoy the day. That'll be Sunday, October 1st. So thank you all for coming. Please take some pastries on the way out. There's still plenty left there, and we'll see you soon.